Welcome to Tribe Triathlon, the podcast for athletes who don't just train and race, they belong. Whether you're chasing a new PR, dialing in your race day, or just love all things triathlon, you're in the right place. Each episode provides actionable insights to improve your next training session or race. My name is John Mayfield, and I am a seasoned triathlon coach with years of experience guiding hundreds of athletes from their first long course event all the way to World Championship qualifications. So rack your bike, lace up your shoes, and let's get ready to train smarter, race stronger, and thrive within your tribe. This is Tribe Triathlon. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Tribe Triathlon. I am super excited for today. So far, with all these episodes, you have heard me say, as my sister said, I've never heard you say so many words, and that's fair. I'm not like a huge talker, but obviously I can get going on these topics here and have said a lot of words and spent a lot of time with my face on the camera for these first few episodes. So super excited to have some relief from hearing just my voice and seeing just my face. When I was starting to plan out who I wanted to have on the podcast as a guest, as a contributor, this guest came immediately to mind, and it was kind of a no-brainer, first person I reached out to, and she actually is in the future. So it is currently a little after 6 p.m. here in Nashville on a Tuesday evening. But as mentioned, she is living in the future. It is already Wednesday morning, where she is. And, you can see I've got my sweatshirt on, because it's, pretty cold here in Nashville, headed into winter, way in the future. She is actually headed into summertime, because, on today's podcast, I have the great pleasure to be including Dietitian Taryn Richardson with us. So she hails all the way from the other side of the world, Brisbane, Australia based. She has been spending more than 2 decades working with triathletes to dial in their nutrition. She is a triathlete herself, so not one of these that's kind of just figuring out what we do as triathletes. She lives it. She swims, bikes, run, and consumes nutrition. She knows what we're going through, and that in and of itself is a fantastic resource and a record combined with her basically 2 decades of doing this. She spent 6 years with Triathlon Australia, supporting elite athletes and Olympians, but now focuses on working with age group triathletes. And so I pulled this directly from her website because this really, I could identify with this. So it says, age groupers juggling training, family, and work. So as we've talked about on these first couple episodes of the podcast, that's really who I enjoy working with as well. And that's perhaps why Taryn and I get on so well, and really passionate about those people that are kind of like us. You know, that's us too. We're the folks that are juggling careers and families and all these other things. And we want to do well, and we want to help others. So Taryn has been on pretty much every podcast there is. I had the pleasure of being on her podcast a while back, and so very glad, very excited to welcome Taryn. Thank you so much for taking time out of your Wednesday morning to be here, join me on a Tuesday here in the U.S.
Wow, John, that is a lot of words for an introduction, but thank you so much. It is so good to be here. And congrats on the podcast. It's very exciting.
Yeah, and that's coming, again, from someone who knows what they're talking about, one of the rock stars in our space. So, I appreciate that. So thanks so much. And, again, coming from someone with an established podcast and can maybe identify with a little bit of these growing pains and all that I've been experiencing over this last few weeks.
Yeah, and so am I your first guest. I feel so honored to be your first guest on the Tribe podcast.
First one on. And like I said, first one to come to mind, and super excited when you said yes, and I've been looking forward to it. So I know, I was thinking about this earlier today. I'm really excited for what you will share with the audience, but I know emphatically that I am going to learn as well. So something that I promise with every episode of the podcast is that there will be actionable items that you can take from this podcast and use it in tomorrow's training session or in your next race or both. And I know this is just going to be like chock full of those. So excited for that.
My pleasure. Let's do it.
So today's diving in is going to be a little bit different. It just so happens that there is some big news in the world of Ironman that was released today. And I am super excited for this, and I am really happy for a whole lot of people that are involved in this in a couple different ways. So it was announced today that the new global hydration partner for Ironman is Precision Fuel and Hydration. This is something that I know a whole lot of people have been asking for. They've actually already been involved in the European events. They were the title sponsor of the 70.3 World Championship this year. They've been on course on events in Europe as well as Australia and that part of the world. I kid these guys a little bit, or I don't know if that's the right word, but every time they do something, I always congratulate them on being overnight success that have taken years and years to realize. So that's really where these guys are. It's two founders, Johnny and Andy. They are fantastic blokes from the UK. They are athletes themselves, and really they set out to solve problems that they were dealing with in their own performance. So it kind of started from there. It's how do we solve these issues that we're dealing with? And then from there, it is literally scaled to be a worldwide brand and product. And I will say, not just Johnny and Andy, but the entire team that they have assembled and grown over the years are great people to work with. They are an absolute pleasure. Between my coaching, racing, hosting training camps, I am actually a sweat tester with Precision Fuel and Hydration. So I've worked with almost everybody in the company. Actually, that's not right anymore because they've grown so much and they're doing so many different things. But they're just everyone they've put on their team is first class, highly knowledgeable, and they're just good people. So that's something I'm really excited about is this company that produces a really good product that I really like, and it's one of those that's just it's an easy endorsement because it works. It's great. I've not met many people who have ever said anything that like it doesn't work for them. So it works for the masses, and you combine a great product with great people. So I've actually been having conversations with Johnny and Andy over the last couple of weeks, and we're trying to line up schedules. Obviously, they've got a lot going on these days, so we are going to be recording an episode with those guys real soon. So definitely looking forward to that. And Taryn, I know you have experience with the team at Precision as well. They've been on your podcast as well, so I think that ties in really well with being a dietitian, and now we have a new hydration sponsor.
Yeah, they're always really good to talk to. They love to get nerdy with me, which I enjoy, to dive into the science behind sweat and hydration, and they have got a great product.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I know Andy has like degrees and degrees of education, lots of other sports scientists involved in it as well. So it's not just something that, it's not just sugar in a bottle with some salt added to it. This is really some stuff that they've really done their homework and continue to do their homework. So that's on the two that I'm really excited about is they are very sage. They really are passionate about educating athletes. So like if you go to the Precision Fuel and Hydration website, there are tons and tons of resources, and it's all you would ever want to know about hydration and sodium and sweat and all those kinds of things. But so congratulations to Johnny, Andy, and everybody else on the Precision Fuel and Hydration team. And I know in addition to me, there are a whole lot of folks over here in the U.S. that are really looking forward to having Precision Fuel and Hydration products on the course starting in 2026. So right out of the gate here, first thing I need to do is issue an apology to Taryn. So I committed a bit of a faux pas. I knew as soon as I saw it what I had done. So in my excitement to have her on the podcast, I put something up on social, and I said we were having a nutritionist on the podcast. But Taryn is not a nutritionist. She is a dietitian. And it's one of those things that you don't mix up. And unfortunately I did. I'm just going to claim like I was in a sleep deprived, tired state or something. But Taryn, I'm terribly sorry to have made that faux pas. And why don't you just start by telling us what is the difference between a nutritionist and a dietitian, and what sets you apart as a dietitian?
That's okay, John. You are forgiven. But if you ever call me a nutritionist, I will correct you. I am a dietitian. And there is a difference between a nutritionist, a dietitian, and a sports dietitian. And I'm, in fact, an advanced sports dietitian, and I specialize in triathlon nutrition. So I get so annoyed because for me to call myself a dietitian, it's a heavily regulated term. Mm-hmm. I have to do a massive study at university, and then I have to do a certain number of CPD or continual professional development points every year to maintain that status of accredited practicing dietitian. Anyone can call themselves a nutritionist. You can call yourself a nutritionist if you want. You could go online, do a quick little course and put nutritionist underneath your name, which is why I get so annoyed because it is hard work to become a dietitian. It's a 4-year undergrad degree here in Australia. It is one of the hardest degrees to get into. We have an OP system here, and to get into medicine, it's a 1, that's the highest, and to get into nutrition and dietetics, it's a 2. And in fact, they actually increased it to 1 recently because there was too many people trying to get in and not enough spaces. And then to become a sports dietitian, it's further study on top of that, as well as a certain number of years of experience. So to call myself a sports dietitian is even further study. And then to become an advanced sports dietitian, then it's even more work and more years of experience and more CPD points to collect every year. So it costs me a lot, and I spent a lot in my education to get to where I am, which is why I get a little bit annoyed when people call me a nutritionist.
And why I feel so bad when I did that, because again, I know that they're not the same. I know it's a much more it's a much more difficult thing to achieve. So again, my apologies.
Okay,
so,
you won't do it again.
Or maybe I will. I have a really bad sense of humor, so I'll probably just call you a nutritionist from here on out. But just know that it
just to annoy me.
That it's a place of love and respect and admiration when I do that. So as mentioned before, you are a triathlete in addition to a advanced sports dietitian. Tell us just a little bit about your triathlon background. What kind of racing do you do? How did you get into the sport? And yeah, just give us a little bit of the kind of the triathlete side of Taryn.
Do you know what? Nobody ever asked me that question. So I started triathlon.
I'm glad I did.
There you go. So I started triathlon back in 2008. So it's been a long time. I grew up competitively swimming since basically before I could walk, and my dad ran a bike shop. So I've been riding bikes basically since before I could walk as well. Yeah. I really struggle with the run because I'm a swimmer, so I didn't have a lot of that weight-bearing exercise growing up, but it was a natural progression for me into triathlon. When did I start? 2008. So as I was finishing uni, I really fell in love. And because I'm highly competitive and it's the type of sport where there's always something to get better at, I just loved the sport and got obsessed really quickly. My favorite distance is Olympic distance, which might surprise a lot of people. I've actually never done a full distance Ironman because running for me is the challenge. These days, I added 3 tiny little people to my life in very short succession in the last 5 years, but in the last 7 years. So at the moment, I'm doing swims in teams to ease my way back into the sport.
Nice. That's awesome. Thank you. So you've done some 70.3 distance events as well?
No. Can't run that far. Too far. They didn't used to have an aqua bike. Yeah. I would do an aqua bike at that distance, but I can't run that far.
The Aussies do well at that Olympic distance. So yeah, maybe
it's so competitive.
To that.
Super
I know
competitive.
You guys have a really tough funnel to make that team highly competitive, and yeah, it shows in the results every 4 years. So yeah, I didn't know that. So that's interesting, and yeah, we'll maybe have to change that. So if
you can fix my hips,
like that Ironman finish line. So Yeah, we can definitely make that happen. So that would be very fun, especially after 15 years of triathlon experience and not having done even the 70.3. That would be great. So I started around that same time, but you and I kind of diverged on our paths because I went more the long course path and you stayed with the short course. Even though I love short course racing, I'm actually a better short course athlete than long course, but like I said, there's nothing that compares to that long course finish line. So when Taryn and I were talking, obviously there are so many things that we can talk about from a nutrition standpoint. Kind of like everything else that we've done here in the beginning of the podcast, even interrupting those first couple episodes of swimming, cycling, and running. Those are very high-level episodes, and so that's where we agreed was a really good place to start, is just kind of high-level, not really digging into the weeds too much, and we've already talked about some things that we're going to do in the future that really get specific and really into the weeds on some things. So today, I just wanted to take advantage of having Taryn here and really give us just some kind of high-level nutrition information and take advantage of her experience and her knowledge. So basically, we're going to hit some race day nutrition and then every other day. And one of Taryn's suggestions, which I think is great, are the common mistakes, because there I know there's a lot of them, and it's one of those things that a lot of us do fall into. So, kind of first question, Taryn, when it comes to race day nutrition, what is our objective? What is it that we are looking to do on race day with our nutrition?
Yeah, great starting question. I think everyone's really different though, and your goals are going to be tailored to you, and your nutrition plan is also going to be tailored to you and what works for your body and your physiology. It's not a set and forget thing and a generic race plan that everyone has the same thing. It really is bespoke to you and everything that goes into your life and your training. For me, I think the main objective is to cross the finish line and not be dead, to have a smile on your face and just have an amazing day out there in the office, because so many things can go wrong. And we want to, I think the main objective would be to get to the finish line and not have bonked, not have any gut issues, have consistent energy throughout your race, whatever distance it is, and potentially even get more energy towards the back end so that you can hold your form, you can push it hard, and maybe even negative split your run. How good would that be? Yeah. You want to be able to give it your all and leave everything out there, but have confidence that your nutrition has got your back, and you're not kind of almost standing on eggshells going, I feel like I'm going to cramp any moment now, and so I'll just ease back. All of those things are, I guess, my objectives for somebody's race nutrition, but what goes into that is very unique based on what you want to achieve.
Yeah, what I love is the first 3 episodes of the podcast are centered around what I refer to as the 4 horsemen of long course racing, and you hit on like pretty much all of them right there. And it's about maximizing your potential, realizing your potential on race day. So your training and your tapering and your gear selection, all that gets you to the start line, but it's how you execute from there. So yeah, like you said, it's we have to utilize and really dial in and nail our nutrition protocols so that we have adequate energy to realize that potential that we developed throughout training. And we want to make sure that those protocols are tested so we can avoid those things like the GI distress. Even you mentioned having the energy to negative split. That was part of our pacing discussion. So I didn't tell you that, but I absolutely love the validation from that. And yeah, it's just kind of fun to tie back. I mean, we're only, I think, 6 episodes in now, and we're already having some callbacks. But you know, that just really speaks to how important all of this stuff is. And yeah, so coming from the expert on the nutrition side, as well. So as these athletes are considering their race day nutrition, what would you say are the most important things? What are the most important considerations around race day nutrition?
There are so many things that go into a plan, but I think some of the big rocks would definitely be your carbohydrate availability. You need that for your brain, but importantly, you also need it for your working muscles. Mm-hmm. And everyone's carbohydrate needs are different, so you need to understand what yours will be. The other big rock is hydration and making sure you don't get so far in the hole where dehydration is starting to negatively affect your performance. And again, that's super unique to you. Your sweat rate is unique to you, the environmental conditions, your fitness level for this race. Like, there are so many factors that go into that. It's not sort of one set and forget number that is your sweat rate. Gut training is a huge one, particularly for long course athletes. You need to make sure that your race plan is rehearsed as many times as possible and you are comfortable consuming what you're consuming. And don't forget that the stress of race day is so much more than you can elicit in training. It's really hard to get all those nerves in training. So making sure you have practiced a lot in training so that you know you can handle that amount of fueling even in a stressful situation. Yeah. As well as, I guess...
So that is actually something that I harped on before in the Four Horsemen on the nutrition discussion was having that protocol and dialing it in. But you bring up a great point that I did not. And actually, it's here's one of those things that I'm learning is you're right. It's a different scenario, a different situation. And I did talk about trying to replicate those race conditions as much as possible. But for me, it was more of like your pacing, your environment, your terrain. But something I didn't even take into consideration are those nerves and that higher level of anxiety. So what would your suggestion be to replicate? Because it's one of those things, it's kind of like if you have a closed course, you can't go and practice on the course. It's the same thing. How do you replicate those nerves and that higher stress so that you know your nutrition protocol will be effective and not run into those issues on race day?
Yeah, I can't give away all my secrets, but you can overtrain in training in a way. Like, often coaches will plan big race simulations, and they're the type of sessions that you want to make sure your race nutrition is as per race day. That's all I can say.
Okay. Yeah. So holding out the good stuff, absolutely no problem there. And yeah, so that's thanks for that consideration.
Do you want me to answer a couple more points for important considerations?
If you have them, yeah. Sorry.
I got two more.
Okay, yeah.
The other things you want to think about, some big rocks when it comes to race nutrition, is the practicality of the course. Like, what are your logistics going to be? Because often we train in not our tri suit, our racing suit. When maybe we have cycling jerseys with all the pockets everywhere. We've got bike nicks or something that have pockets down the legs, and then we put our race suit on and we've got this tiny little pocket on the back that you can't fit anything in. Or sometimes people train with a big bento box on their bike but take it off to be aero on race day. So you need to think about what your race nutrition plan is and emulate all of that in training as well, and think about what you're going to pick up at aid stations if you're going to use them. Are you going to use special needs? Are you not going to use special needs? What fits in your pockets? Can you open things when you're on the move? Because there's no point having this perfectly formulated plan if you can't actually get access to your gel and things like that. Yeah. The other big consideration that a lot of people don't really consider is the conditions of that race. If you've ever been handed a race plan or somebody's written one for you, it would be developed for that particular race, whether that's a hilly course or a flat course, and also the temperature and humidity. Like, all of that for me goes into the race nutrition planning that I help my athletes with, and they don't have one plan forever. Say they don't have a 70.3 plan that they always use. We actually dial in all of the factors that we need to for that specific course. So they are kind of maybe 5 of the biggest considerations I would look at when it comes to racing: carbohydrate, hydration, gut training, the logistics, and thinking about what you need for that key and specific race.
Fantastic stuff there. So moving on a little bit here. how do athletes determine their caloric needs? How we know we all need to be consuming a certain amount of calories. We usually look at that on a hourly basis. So as you mentioned before, that's going to vary. It's going to be contingent on a whole lot of things. But what goes into determining and how can athletes best determine how many calories they need?
Okay, shameless plug, but you need to get some support from a triathlon dietitian to really know what it is.
Agreed.
Because
yes.
It's not actually calories that we want to look at. It's carbohydrate availability. Mm-hmm. Calorie counting for me isn't a priority in racing because the body uses carbohydrate as its main source of fuel, and any addition of fat and protein is going to slow down gastric emptying and make it harder for our body to digest and break down that carbohydrate and take it to the working muscles. So you need to focus on carbs, not calories, which some people get their back up about, but that's what the science tells us.
Yeah.
And then your carbohydrate needs are unique. And again, they're not set and forget forever. So each race, you might have a different fueling strategy, again, depending on if it's a hilly bike or if it's a flat bike, if it's a really hot race or if it's a really cold race. Your fueling strategy and your levers there can be pulled differently depending on what we're trying to achieve and what race you're gearing up for. I would hate everyone to blindly follow everyone needs 90 grams of carbs an hour in your race. That's going to work for, I don't know, maybe 30% of people. Yeah. And the rest really need a custom plan. And then I guess I love to teach people the why behind things so that they know how to tweak it and evolve it as they become more familiar with their race nutrition, they get fitter, they become more experienced athletes, and they can look at a course and go, okay, this is what I'm doing for my A race. This is what it's predicted to be. This is what the course is like. They get feedback from athletes in our community, and then we can start to talk about numbers. And then with all good plans, you need to practice in training, see what your body can handle, give it a nudge, and then we build our race nutrition plan that way. So it's not a, here's your number, see you later, off you go, good luck.
Yeah, and one of the things that we discussed was doing a whole episode just around developing that race plan. So definitely looking forward to having further discussion about really building start to finish that race plan. So yeah, we're going to focus on grams of carbohydrate. What do we need? But not all carbohydrates are the same. So what are some of the differences in carbohydrates, or even a product that has one type of carbohydrate versus another, or even a combination of carbohydrates?
Yeah, this is a whole big can of worms. We can do an entire podcast episode on this topic as well, I think. But a lot of triathletes don't actually look at that. The first step to understanding what is in your products is to turn them around and have a look at the ingredients list and go, okay, well, what is actually in this thing? And then you need to educate yourself on what the different types of sugars mean and what that product is made up of, what's the ratio, and does that ratio even matter for you? Because we have some more faster, rapidly pulled apart and digested carbohydrate sources, and then we've also got some really slower digested carbohydrates, and even things like fructose, which are absorbed and processed differently on a different pathway through the liver. So having an understanding of that, I think, is really important if you are fueling above 60 grams of carbs an hour, because our glucose transporter saturates at 1 gram per minute. So if you don't fuel above that, just ignore this. But if you do fuel above that, then you are going to need to educate yourself on the different types, what ratios we're looking for, how to actually get in between, because everyone's landed on this magic 2-to-1 ratio, or the 1 is to 0.8. But having an understanding of that to build your fueling strategy is really important. And then if you want to eat real food, then you need to start to layer that in as well. So that's where a lot of athletes do get a little bit confused, because we have no idea what's in stuff. So working with somebody on understanding that, I think, is really important, rather than just blindly using what's on course. You know, it's been Morton all over the place, and then mortal hydration. It's going to change every year as well. So don't bank on whatever's on course this year being on course next year. You're going to have to be flexible in your approach, because it will constantly change.
So one of the next questions I had, I guess, I don't know, maybe let's revisit. So we talked about carbohydrate here. You mentioned it before. Where do fats and proteins play into our race day nutrition?
So if we only talk about race day here, then our main focus is carbohydrate. If you have a little bit of fat or a little bit of protein sprinkled into your plan in some real food options, that's okay. But it is not our main focus, because both of those things will slow down the transit of food from your stomach further along the gastrointestinal tract. So it's called gastric emptying. So it means that your fuel is sitting in basically a collection bucket for longer, when we want it as quickly digested and broken down, and those long chains of structures of whatever it is pulled apart into single little units so that we can absorb it into the bloodstream. It's not useful until it is in your bloodstream, because then the body can distribute it where it needs to go. And while we're exercising, it's generally the working muscles. So I wouldn't, unless you're a fat adapted athlete, which is a whole nother topic, but if you're a carb fueled athlete, then carbohydrate is absolutely your focus. There's some stuff in having a little bit of protein for, say, an Ironman distance race, a full distance race, so that we're not eating away at your muscles because we're out there for so long. But it's not a key focus for a lot of people, because it is going to slow down the digestion. And the longer you exercise for, the more your gut shuts down. So we want to be much more kind to it and gentle on its digestion, so that at the end of the race you can do things like negative split the run and your guts haven't just absolutely gone AWOL.
Yeah, and too, for some that a little bit of protein can provide some satiety, because you get hungry when you don't eat for 8, 10, 12, 14 hours of an Ironman.
Not everyone gets hungry though. Some people, their appetite is blunted by exercise, so they do have to do a bit of almost force fueling. And then there's other athletes, maybe sounds like you, John, that do get a bit hungry. So we can lean in. Oh, you don't?
Yeah, I do all liquid nutrition on the bike and mostly gels out on the run course. And yeah, I tend to not get hungry. But yeah, it's others do. And so, you obviously need something a little different. I do get some palate fatigue. So I account for that in switching my bike nutrition to run nutrition for several reasons. But one of those is just to stave off some of that palate fatigue. But yeah, so fortunately I don't. And every once in a while, it may come in, but usually it's like, I don't know, some pretzels or banana or something that we'll take care of that. What about BCAAs playing in there?
Yeah, so last time I looked, the jury was out with branched chain amino acids actually increasing muscle protein synthesis. So I'd have to go back and have a look again recently, because this question is coming up a lot lately, actually. It must be in a new product, or it's being marketed to triathletes somewhere, because it generally all feeds back to me somewhere in one form or the other. Potentially branched chain amino acids are branch chains of single amino acid units that are all joined together. So they are rapidly pulled apart in your gut and then absorbed into the bloodstream as those single amino acid units. And all protein is made up of amino acids. So whether you're eating a steak or having branched chain amino acids, it will all eventually pull apart into the single units of a particular type of amino acid. Obviously, a steak on the bike is going to take a long time to digest and break down compared to something like a BCAA product. So the theory of it makes a lot of sense, that it can help stave off eating away at your muscles. But I don't know. I'd have to go and have a look again to see if there's anything new in this space. But last time I looked, the jury was out whether it was actually effective at what we thought it was. There is some research that says it does, and others that say it doesn't. And, there's obviously limitations with study designs and all those sorts of things. So maybe, I know that's not a very clear answer, but maybe.
Yeah, no, that's good. And so that was an audible. That was not anything that we discussed. That was just kind of something off the top of my head. And I haven't seen, and it was kind of those things like, I haven't heard of BCAAs in a while, especially on the race day side of it. I know a while back some of the gels were including them. And yeah, effectively it is a form of protein that you're getting in it, as opposed to having to eat the steak or have something that is a I guess less broken down state of that protein. But these are the kinds of things that you can audible and ask when you have someone that you have a high level of confidence knows her stuff. So no worries there. It was it's like a a quote about trial attorneys. It's like you never have to ask a question you don't know the answer to. And it's okay if I don't know the answer, but I'm confident that you will, or you'll at least be able to speak to it. So thanks for that. So
I'll try.
Yeah, kind of last, or as we kind of move out a little bit, when we've been talking about race day nutrition, when would you say that quote unquote race day nutrition starts?
Oh, good question. This might surprise people, but 6 to 12 months out.
I was not thinking that far out.
Depends what distance. So the longer you're going, so full distance, 17.3, the more time you do need to prepare, because success on that one day for race day does not happen in what you do for that week leading in. It's all of the things that you've done compounded over time over the 6 to 12 months leading in. So I'm thinking about making sure you've got your recovery nutrition sorted on a daily basis, making sure you've got your daily nutrition periodized to your training. You know how to eat for a lighter day versus a really hard 6-hour bike day. That helps all of the training program work, and you can adapt from that training if you've laid in your nutrition to make all of those adaptations happen. So you can't kind of rush this process. The body will get fitter and faster if you give it the right building blocks to do so, but it's not going to do that if you haven't got those big rock foundations like recovery nutrition, pre-training nutrition, and periodization nailed first. So absolutely, like the lead-in is all of that culminates in a successful day in the office, as well as, the week leading in, which is maybe what people think. They're like, all right, I'm racing in a week, maybe I'll like tighten up the belt buckle now. But after that, you're tapering. It's too late. We can't do any gut training anymore. We can do some carbohydrate loading if that helps for that particular event. But you're basically recovering and trying to get your immune system to be okay and not get sick, and fill up your muscle glycogen fuel tank in that lead in. And then you've got your pre-race dinner, and then you've got your pre-race breakfast generally, because we're racing in the morning as well. So that's kind of the acute stuff. But once you get to that week leading in, then all of that hard work has been done in the 6 to 12 months beforehand.
That's great. That's really good insight. Now, my next question is about carb loading. And if you say 6 to 12 months, I'm going to be really excited for that, because we all love carbs. And if we should be carb loading for 6 to 12 months out from race day, that's something I can get behind. That would certainly be an issue for my race weight, but I could probably just deal with that. But in all seriousness, tell us a little bit about carb loading. I know, like back in the day, it was, eat a massive bowl of pasta the night before the race. And it kind of blows my mind that a lot of times you'll see like marathons and stuff, like they'll have like the night before, they'll have these big parties with big bowls of pasta and that sort of thing. But what is an effective carb loading protocol?
Yeah, carb loading is not eating a big bowl of pasta the night before. It comes nowhere close to what you need to effectively supercompensate your muscle glycogen stores. And what we're trying to do with carb loading is basically fill up our fuel tank and then shove a bit extra in at the top. So our daily carbohydrate intake is generally in an age group of sense nowhere near what we need to carbohydrate load. In the elites, they eat at that level on a daily, so all they really need to do is taper and just watch maybe things like their fiber, and they're keeping on top of their hydration and stuff like that, but they don't need to carb load like we do as an age group population. There is a beautiful meta-analysis by Jose Areta from 2018, if anybody wants to go and read that. That kind of distills all of the research in carbohydrate loading from the last, couple of decades, because we used to think it was a 5-day process. You had to strip all the glycogen out of your muscles and then load them up. And we have a much shorter, condensed protocol now to do that. But it is a unique thing for you. It is based on your physiology and your metabolically active tissue, how much you need, because we don't want to fill up our fuel tank with our fat stores either. But we need to increase our carbohydrate intake for 1 to 2 days, depending on what race distance you're doing. Decrease the fiber, make sure your gut is comfortable with all the choices that you're making, and also concentrate on some hydration heading in. Don't do anything weird. Don't do anything that you don't normally do. Don't eat anything you don't normally do. But people do enjoy the carb loading process because I often allow the dietitians that I could eat some things that they potentially wouldn't normally eat on a daily basis but would like to. And I've definitely upskilled myself in a whole heap of US-based candy options over the last, 5 years working with you guys.
Yeah, exporting our culture in its finest. So yeah, I tell you, my favorite part of training is the carb loading and the tapering. Those are my two favorite parts. And I'm sure that athletes working with qualified dietitians like you will absolutely get the advice they need on how they can best carb load and prepare. And also that is going to help them prevent making some common mistakes around race day nutrition. But what would you say are some of those most common mistakes that athletes make on race day with their nutrition?
I was just going to say on the carb loading part, I have built a carbohydrate loading tool that does all of the work for you. So
Nice.
All you have to put in is a few little metrics of yourself, and it takes away all the hard work of having to develop your own plan, and is available to Triathlon Nutrition Academy athletes. Oh my God, there are so many mistakes that people make. I don't understand why. Like, you spend so much money on this one day. Like, think about everything that goes into it. You've got your race entry, which is only getting more expensive. Mm-hmm. You almost have to take out a second mortgage to do triathlon these days. Race entry, accommodation, travel, plus, a new bike. People often do that.
Yeah.
It's just such an expensive sport.
Mm-hmm.
And it doesn't make any sense to me why you would do it and wing it. But so many people do. And I think that's the biggest mistake, is that they don't go in with a really clear plan that has been very well practiced and well rehearsed. I've heard so many horror stories of people doing full distance events and not having any race nutrition plan. I'm like, that makes no sense to me. Like, I'm a type A type person. I want to know exactly what I'm doing. Please tell me and I will do it. They try something new. They might grab a new gel at the aid station. They might just randomly add a banana into their plan because the guy at the expo told them that he loves bananas and they work so well for him, so you should do it too. New shoes, new anything is silly. Like, the golden rule of racing obviously is nothing new on race day. Mm-hmm. The other two big ones, I think, from my perspective, is underfueling. People have no sense of how much they actually need, and particularly on the run, where it becomes almost damage control for people, is they don't really have a plan for the bike. Where success in triathlon comes from having a successful swim and bike that minimally affects you, so that by the time you get to the run, you're good to go. Like, you're not in a hole, you've got energy, you're not dehydrated, you're ready to do whatever distance is the back. Like, that is where success in triathlon comes from. But
you have clearly listened to the first couple episodes of the podcast, because you were just parroting everything I have said. So I'm loving this. Like, my ego is just being stoked here, because I am 100% on board with you there. Yeah, keep going. But you're right, and I'm loving this.
Oh, I'm glad we're on the same page. But I'm sorry, I haven't listened to your podcast yet. It'll be a Christmas activity, I think.
You've got a lot
John?
of them. You've got a lot of them to listen to. So no.
I'll catch up for you. As a podcaster, I actually rarely listen to podcasts these days, because it's just, I don't know. I don't listen to my own either. I can't. It's too cringe. So underfueling is a big one, absolutely, and making sure you aren't underfueled by the time you start running. Your bike is your best opportunity to make sure you don't dig yourself into a deeper hole. Yeah. And then the other big mistake is overfueling. Like, people just think that they've got to just get so much in and their gut can't handle it, and it just leads to havoc on typically the run, whether that's running for a Portaloo, vomiting your guts out, or just not being able to consume anything on the run because you've absolutely destroyed your gut on the bike. Yeah. And I guess there's so many. I actually developed a audio series on this, the five biggest mistakes costing you time on race day. If you do want to go get it, it's free. You can get it at dietitianapproved.com/mistakes to hear my take on some of these things and practically like what to not do so that you don't do them. The other one is really poor hydration strategy for the weather of the day. So you might have practiced and done all of your training in a really cool environment, and then you go to like Kona or Cozumel or Ironman Texas or something, and it's really bloody hot. And people have no idea how to adjust their hydration strategy to suit those conditions. So there's so many things that people do. I really wish that we could just stop doing them, please. Like, actually, you've got a plan for your training, right? And you put so much time and effort and blood, sweat and tears into that. Like, let's take it to the next level and invest in getting some nutrition education so that you don't make any of these mistakes on race day when you put so much effort into that.
100% on board with that. Yes, absolutely. Go and do that. And so I love there, you threw out 3 North American races, and then you referred to them as bloody hot. That is
I'm
so
very
fun.
Australian.
But you use North American races, and you got plenty of hot races down under down there too. So that's fun. So thank you for all that, and absolutely go and check out those resources. We're going to talk about a couple more here in a few minutes, but Taryn, we'll talk about this. Taryn has a wealth of information on her website, and I would highly encourage you to check out the resources she's mentioned, as well as some others that are on there that are absolutely fantastic. So taking a step back away from race day, we've talked about how race day actually starts 6 to 12 months out. So that's really going to really, I think, specifically speak to preparing for training sessions, dialing things in during our training sessions. But what about our breakfast, lunch, and dinner? What can triathletes do? What can triathletes plan for in their day-to-day meal planning and their meal their day-to-day diet? What kind of things are going to set up triathletes for their best training, their best recovery, those types of things? So a little bit outside of our swim, bike, and run nutrition, but what about those things outside of that?
Yeah, this is my sweet spot, and I think that you get the biggest bang for your buck around what you do day in, day out. It's those small daily habits compounded over time that do help you reap the rewards when it does come to race day. So I think the first things you need to do is get your bookends around training right. So your pre-training nutrition and your recovery nutrition, and have a plan for each of your training sessions. And they're not the same, right? So we're not going to fuel a 1 hour easy aerobic recovery swim the same as we are going to fuel a 1.5 hour high intensity interval session on the bike. You need to have a strategy that sets up each of your training sessions with the right fueling and strategy to get the most out of that session, depending on what the performance gain is. So that high intensity bike session, we are trying to get fitter and faster. So we want to look at fueling that much more aggressively or differently to get the most out of that session. That one's going to make you a better triathlete. The easy recovery swim, for a lot of people, swimming's not easy, but for me, I love swimming. Went for a swim this morning. It was easy. I didn't do a lot of fueling before that because I know I can handle about 3Ks. I don't know what that is in miles. 3Ks in, an hour with not a lot of fuel, because I'm not trying to get fitter and faster in that session. So understanding the nuances of your training program and how to adapt your nutrition to that is really important, as well as recovery. Oh my God, why do we still suck at recovery? Most triathletes think that they're doing an all right job.
Yeah.
And then it is the first thing that I teach them in the Triathlon Nutrition Academy program is how to actually recover specifically for you. Because we've been told to eat a protein shake and a banana and whatever, go to work and you'll be fine. But you need to understand the right macro targets for your body and your physiology and the time frame to get all of those building blocks in there as fast as you can, so that they are there when the body is doing all of its recovery processes as quickly as possible, because we don't have the luxury of time as triathletes to recover either. We don't have 2 days off after a session. We often train again that day or the next day, and maximum might be 24 hours. So we want to be pretty aggressive and diligent with our recovery processes. And that one key change for a triathlete can have huge impact on how they're feeling and what the energy levels are like. And they're the first 2 things that you want to get right first, as well as, like I mentioned before, we need to understand how to eat on each day of our training program. A lot of us want to lean up. I think 95% of triathletes want to get a little bit leaner. There's a 5% that don't. But a lot of us do want to get a little bit leaner, and we tend to just scale back and cut out carbs and try and starve ourselves to get there. but we can be way more strategic around our food choices and how many calories we get and when, to help that process happen without really being aggressive and trying to chase it and ending up in just a hole. So eating for the work required and eating differently on those lighter training days versus the moderate days versus the harder days, I think is a key rock for triathletes when it comes to daily nutrition. So they're probably the three big ones. And we don't have to get into this today, but there are some key nutrients that we need as well when we do a lot of endurance exercise, and some big ones in that space are calcium and iron, and for a lot of people, vitamin D as well. You guys are heading into your winter where you don't often have the right wavelength of light to convert vitamin D to its active form in the skin. So you might need to look at that as well.
That is so wild with the vitamin D and these different things, how it has to do with light. I mean, who would have thought that? That's all part of it. But so that'll be another one of those. If you would be so kind as to indulge us, obviously we can do episodes on the day-to-day nutrition, and there's obviously a lot more to dive into so far as that goes. But as we are starting to wrap up here, I want to learn more about your practice and how athletes can work with you and take advantage of your resources. So I know you have your dietitian approved resources. You have online courses. You have, as I mentioned before, you've been on pretty much every podcast that touches triathlon. You have your own dietitian approved podcast, and you have your Triathletes Kitchen, which is a super cool resource that I was looking at. And then I also saw you have a new cohort of your Triathlon Nutrition Academy. You just mentioned that and having certain things included in that. Tell us more about your Triathlon Nutrition Academy.
Yeah, if you go to my website, you'll see a lot of resources for triathletes. I really want to become the hub for triathlon nutrition education globally. That's my, big, hairy, audacious goal. But you have to spell dietitian correctly, because in Australia, it's spelt with 2 T's, Dietitian, whereas in the US, it's spelt with a C. Although, fun fact, I did buy the URL Dietitian Approved Your Spelling, and it redirects to the right place. So if you search for Dietitian Approved, it should come up. My podcast is called The Triathlon.
Because, I did not
spell
it that way, and I got it there.
Yay! The power of the internet. My podcast is called the Triathlon Nutrition Academy podcast, if you do want to get nerdy and talk all things triathlon nutrition with me. But also on the website, dietitianapproved.com, you'll see my Kickstart course, which is a really great place to start if you just want to kind of dip your toe in some triathlon nutrition education. And my big program where I help athletes from all across the world is called the Triathlon Nutrition Academy. We have cohorts starting roughly every quarter, and the next one coming up is towards the end of January, which is such a great time for you guys in North America because you're in your off season. Now, there's this fun little saying, like abs are made in the off season, right? But it's true. It's what you do now when nobody's watching that is going to have the biggest impact on your season as you head towards it. So remember I said it sort of takes 6 to 12 months to prepare. But that is a 9-month education program across 3 phases, and we leave no stone left unturned. My job is really to help you turn your nutrition into your secret weapon and teach you everything that I've learned over the last 2 decades working with from a triathlete, to make sure that you understand how to eat specifically for you. And there are lots of tools and resources to help make that process easy. John mentioned the Triathletes Kitchen. So there's recipes, there's meal plans. I can help you with your race nutrition plan for every single distance. There's a tool to develop your carbohydrate loading protocol, hydration testing, meal planning. Like there are so many things in there because I know what it's like to try and train for 3 sports and work full time and have a family. And man, shit gets busy real fast. Yeah. So my goal is to make that whole process easy for you rather than it being just another thing and being so stressful and overwhelming. So if you can give me 1 to 2 hours a week, I promise you that in 9 months' time, you won't even know yourself.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I will say, I feel like you are that leading global resource for nutrition. So props there, and I know that's only going to continue to improve. But you already have compiled an amazing collection of resources. So beyond that, beyond all of these resources that you make available, what about working with you on a one-to-one basis?
That is only available to Triathlon Nutrition Academy athletes these days. I don't work one-on-one with athletes outside of that program because I have everything packaged in that program to help you without even necessarily needing me one-on-one. We do meet live every week on Zoom as a group, so you have access to me pretty much weekly to ask all those questions. Make sure you're not stuck. Bring your plan to me, show me, I will review it. And it's not like I worked one-on-one for many years. I didn't see athletes weekly. So it's really awesome to learn from not only me, but also from the people in your cohort. We all kind of connect together, high-five each other, and people ask questions that you probably didn't even think about. So it's a great way to get a really holistic view of whatever it is we're talking about that week.
Yeah, that's great. So thank you so much for your time. I know there was a lot of really good nuggets to pull from the things that you shared, and I really look forward to diving into more as we work through some of these other things. One thing that we're going to do, normally we have our diving in and something that we talk about, and we'll put it out there on social media, and we kind of have some fun telling stories. But Taryn has been gracious enough to agree to moderate, we'll say, our diving in for this week. So bring your questions for Taryn to our Facebook group. It's Tribe Triathlon. It's welcome to anyone to join that group. And so bring their questions, and she is going to get to as many of those as she can. Obviously, she's got a lot going on. She's busy, and her time, her expertise is of a very high value. So I want to respect that. But so thank you again for your generosity so far as willing to do that. So that's kind of our call to action for the week. Reach out, bring your questions, and kind of like you were saying with your cohorts, what are those questions that you have that might spur something with other athletes out there? We've got a lot of stuff coming up. I am fresh off of another awesome year of Clash Daytona. I sit behind a computer for like 50 weeks of the year, but 2 weeks out of the year, I get to work with some amazing race directors and event producers, the NASCAR tracks at those Clash events. So we had another fantastic year of some fantastic racing at the world headquarters of racing. And in addition to Taryn, I have got some really exciting guests lined up that are going to be very entertaining and really provide some good information to you guys. So a lot of stuff in the works that I'm really excited. So I want to continue to encourage you to reach out, bring us your ideas, your questions, your thoughts. What do you want to see a podcast about? And as we are currently closing out the year and looking to start fresh in the new year, I would love to work with you on a coaching basis. What are your goals for the year to come? That's really what I'm passionate about. And just like Taryn, we're passionate about helping athletes reach their goals. So again, I would encourage you to reach out to Taryn and take advantage of the resources she's provided, and then reach out as well and see if perhaps Tribe Coaching is for you. So again, lots of exciting stuff coming up. So we will see you next time.
Thanks, John. Thanks for having me. It was awesome.
Great. Thanks again.
Thanks for tuning into Tribe Triathlon, where athletes come together to train smarter, race stronger, and thrive together. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your training partners. Join the Tribe Facebook group to connect with community, and check out tribetriathlon.net to learn more about Tribe Coaching. Until then, stay focused, stay consistent, and keep building the tribe.